Alright, Jeff here, and I've got my QAV210. I've got everything hooked up in here. I don't need the top plate on, but I do have it. I was adjusting my camera up here. This one is for another customer, so I got it where he could have two angles on his camera. The angle of the camera really depends on your speed at which you fly, and he's going to be learning how to fly. So what I've done is change that a little bit where it keys in right here, and then if it goes back into this final point, if I angle it, undo these screws, it'll go up to the high angle, which will increase your speed. So anyway, once that's done, I got everything hooked up here to the computer. I do have my battery connected. If you do want to hook up your battery and everything else, make sure that your props are removed. So I've got everything removed here. I plugged up my battery. I've got it all connected to the computer, and I am doing a spectrum. And that was one of the biggest things when I was doing spectrum, is no one was explaining a few things which I think are very simple. One of the things in here is once you get into the controls, you can see there that I've got the TEAR1234. I'm in the receiver mode here in clean flight, and I'm making sure that I have control. Now, the main thing that I was not understanding is when you do this with a spectrum, you need to adjust your limits on your radio. So I am in travel limits on the servo, and you increase those until you get full range, which is basically right at 1,000 all the way up to 2,000. If you go over, do slight little tweaking and get those adjusted correctly. Make sure that they're moving in the right directions. If you move the stick to the right, the bars should move to the right. If they move to the left, as well as if you go up on a stick such as an elevator, they should increase in color. That's what I love to tell somebody, is they get bigger and then they get smaller. So make sure all of those are set right. If not, those are settings in your radio. Reverse the channel in here, make sure they're going the right direction, and then adjust your limits on your radio to make sure that these go up and down all the way. Anyway, those are some of the settings. I am absolutely not a professional at this, but I have done more than a few of these, and other guys may tell me something different. Now, once I plug up my battery, I go to motors, and I go down here, click that I have my props off, and then I adjust the main slider up and down slightly to find the lowest point of good throttle of all four motors running, which here was 1050. That should be minimum throttle with the switch on, arming the motors. I like to arm my motors with a switch, so when you're in air mode or float mode, the props are always turning and you have full control of it. And I have that set to my back switch here, which is auxiliary 1. And then 2 I use as my mode setting right here. So anyway, once you're in there, you know the motors. I spun them up, and about 1050 is a good standard RPM. And that is, you can see on here when I flip the switch, nothing big, it won't take off, it'll stabilize when it's floating. That's what I like. So I do have brakes applied on this. As I explained, brakes are a really big thing. Your motors instantly slow down when you want to go under a limb or do some aerobatics. So anyway, those are some of the basic settings. Once I check that I have the motors and I know that it's 1050, then I go back over to configuration and I adjust minimum throttle to 1050 and go back down, save and reboot. I have max throttle again in your deal. Max throttle is 2,000. I have it just a little below 2,000. Minimum command being 1,000. That means that my throttle will be all the way to the bottom. So if my throttle is up and I try to kick the switch, it will not start. So if my throttle is completely down and I kick the switch, motors will start. So these are just some of the basics. When I was doing these things, I was looking around trying to find this information and had to discover it. So it's a lot easier, just to try to help you guys out. Now, once I'm in there in configuration, if you're not getting your spectrum to see it, I have the XM. So in here I choose the serial port, RX serial. I go to spectrum 2048. And then before that, I go to ports because I have it plugged into the port. The first one is my data port, which is the one I'm plugged into to my computer. The UART port, I go to serial receiver. make sure to go down and save and reboot. Then go to your configuration and do the things I was telling you, which are the satellite, and then the Spectrum 2048. That will make it work. And if it's not working, come back in here after you hit the save and reboot and try again. Sometimes it kicks it, sometimes it doesn't. So in the receiver, you will see it when it works right. Everything centers, and you can do your trims on your radio to recenter everything. It's pretty simple. You just got to know what to hit. It kind of sucks when you don't know what to hit. So now I will go in and I will start doing some PID tuning. My motors are turned in the correct directions, which is very important to check. I've done that once before. I kick the switch and I'm like, all right, I'm working. Well, go down and grab your motors, make sure they're spinning the right way. I have my nuts on here, and if the nuts come off, they're going the wrong direction. These are all going the correct direction, all to the inside. Double check that. It really sucks when you test fly it and then all of a sudden something's not right and all you find is a simple thing like that, as well as putting the props on in the right direction. So there are some basic settings. I will go in here and adjust some PID tuning. Again, this is a QAV210 aftermarket, not the actual one. It's full carbon. These are sweet. You can buy them from a bunch of these guys, Crazy Pony and some other ones that are in Amazon. They're just great little frames and they work great. So I will do some PID adjustments and do some test flying, and then I will come back. Anyway, I hope this helps somebody out build a awesome little quad.